All right. For those of you guys who do not know me, my name is Carson. Wow, I got to scroll way up. My name is Carson. I am the youth director here, and I have the privilege of sharing the message with you guys today. A couple weeks ago, I knew that Marriage Retreat was coming up. A bunch of people were going to be gone. And I was like, hey, what if we did Youth Takeover Day? I'll speak. And at that time, I had no idea what I was going to talk about, but I was like, God will figure it out, right? And he did in probably the most unorthodox way imaginable. I recently re-downloaded Instagram after taking like an 80-plus week break. I figured my baby's so cute, I gotta show some pictures. Everyone's gotta see her, right? And being back on Instagram, I got caught up on some pretty weird trends that are going on, such as Italian brain rot, which if you're over 16, don't even ask, okay? What else is a new trend on Instagram I noticed was like weirdly Christian side of Instagram. That's like mostly theologically terrible, all right? The person will be like, hey, thanks for scrolling upon this video. Jesus loves you. Click like to get into heaven. And you're like, I don't think that's how that works. So at one point in scrolling through, I came into an even weirder side of Christian Instagram, and that was AI cast of SpongeBob, the SpongeBob cast with AI voices talking about an issue that we share as Christians. This video started out with Squidward being like, hey, I have doubts in my faith. And the rest of the cast was having a discussion about what he should do about that. And as weird as it sounds, it kind of like spoke to me, I guess. Maybe it's just like my childhood trauma of SpongeBob, me like, oh my gosh, he loves Jesus. I don't know. I would like to take this time to apologize for those of you who have no idea what I just said for the past 3 minutes. Let's snap back to the talk and talk about God, all right? More specifically, let's talk about when we have doubts in God. How many of you guys have ever doubted something? That could be doubting that something is real, doubting someone's ability to do something, doubting something would work out in your favor. In high school and college, I had a lot of doubts in my life. A lot of self-doubt. In high school, before every year, you meet with a counselor, and they talk about your future and your grades, and try to schedule your classes out, try to figure out where you should be, what you need to get done. And if you're wanting to go to a college, a four-year college, they give you a list of requirements called the A through G. I did not go to a four-year college, so don't ask me what A through G stood for, okay? But that's what they gave you. I didn't go to four-year college, but I did want to meet these goals. I wanted to make sure that after high school, I had as many options available. So I was like, I'm going to get A through G done. We'll see what God has for me after that. Freshman year, started out pretty hot, not going to lie. Completed everything required of me, passed all my classes. After feeling good about freshman year, I met with my counselor again, and he listed some classes and told me about some more advanced classes that would get me ahead. One of them being Spanish 1, 2, and 3. Spanish 1, 2, and 3 combined into one super fast, better keep up class. 3 years of Spanish in 1 year. So freshman year, I passed Spanish 1. I was going to say good job in Spanish, but I don't think I could. I passed Spanish 1. So all I needed to do was pass Spanish 2 to finish my A through G requirement of a foreign language. I just had to take one more year of Spanish. But for some reason, I was like, you know what? This fast-paced, crammed Spanish 1, 2, and 3 sounds pretty good. And I knew I was only taking it for the credits, and I had no intention of speaking a word of Spanish after the class. But for some reason, I took it. Unfortunately, Spanish it's a lot of speaking in front of the class, and if you don't know what you're talking about, it's pretty easy to call you out. It's pretty embarrassing. And let me tell you, in that class, I was speaking muy gibberisho, all right? I was making stuff up. It did not go well. I ended up getting a D- in that class, and the second semester had to go take Spanish 2 anyway. I should have just been in there. And events like this happened to me a couple more times in my life. My senior year, I tried to take a college-level math class. I already had A through G finished with my math, but I tried to take a college-level class, failed it. Junior college, I ended up failing literally every single class my first semester. And what I took away from this at the time was every time I try to get ahead, anytime I try to go above and beyond, I fail. I wasn't built to be anything special. I was made to be average. I doubted that I could be more than just a person. I doubted that I could be excellent. I doubted that God could help me be anything more than I was. Doubt is scary. Doubt is debilitating. Doubt is dangerous, but it's something that we all have. And doubt becomes really scary when it comes to our relationship with Jesus. But I believe it's something that we all have in our relationship with Jesus. In fact, this is how I've always interpreted this verse, having faith the size of a mustard seed. Matthew 17:20, you don't have enough faith, Jesus told them. I tell you the truth, if you had faith, even as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it would move. Nothing would be impossible. A mustard seed is tiny. It's like the smallest tangible thing that Jesus could come up with right there. Jesus is giving us an example so small that it technically exists. You can technically see it. You can technically feel it. But if we have any doubt when it comes to our faith, then does our faith really exist? We can look at a mountain and we can tell God, move it, put it over there. And I think most of us believe that God can move it. I mean, it says it right there in the Bible, and we believe that the Bible is true. But something inside of us tells us that mountain's not going to move. How in the world is a mountain just going to fly over there? I've never seen a mountain move. It's not going to happen. No matter how much faith we have, we still have some doubts. We have a little bit of logic going on in our head that throws enough doubt in the mix that we don't really have faith. And this is pretty inconsequential when it comes to moving mountains, right? I like that mountain over there. It looks nice. All right. When doubt might get a little more noticeable in your faith, have a little more impact, could be your marriage. We doubt that God can really fix our marriage, or probably the way that you're phrasing it to him is, we doubt God can fix him. We doubt God can fix her, right? If that's you, make sure you get signed up for marriage retreat next year, all right? You just missed this one, but you guys got to hang on to the next one. We may also have doubts when it comes to healing. God, I believe you can get rid of this cancer, but I haven't seen you do it, so I'm not sure. God, I believe you can fix my vision, but I haven't been able to see for this long, so why would you do it now? God, I believe you can provide for us, but I have rent due, so I'm going to sell these pills to make rent on time. You can provide for me next month. When doubt creeps into real issues, there's consequences. And because of this, we see doubt as a little taboo as Christians. We don't want to bring up our doubt. We bury it away. We know we shouldn't be doubting God. We know he's holy and has our best intentions. So when we start doubting him in the situation we're in, we bury our doubt. We try to ignore it. Because when we doubt God, we feel like we're letting him down. We feel like we're failing as Christians. We're falling short when we doubt God. We see an example of the consequences of our doubt in God when we look at Peter's life. We're going to be covering a few examples of the doubt that he has during Jesus' life. Starting in Matthew chapter 14, verses 15 to 20. It says, that evening, the disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves. But Jesus said, that isn't necessary. You feed them. But we have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they answered. Bring them here, he said. Then he told the people to sit down on the grass. Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, looked up toward heaven and blessed them. Then breaking the loaves into pieces, he gave the bread to the disciples who distributed it to the people. They all ate as much as they wanted, and afterward the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftovers. So this is a Bible classic, all right? If you've been around, you've heard this a time or 50. Jesus multiplies the food to feed 5,000. And I want to bring this up because Peter was here for this. He saw this. He witnessed this miracle. He was passing out seemingly infinite food from just a couple fish and some loaves of bread. Peter is witnessing Jesus perform miracles in front of his eyes. He's on fire for Jesus, And at this point, he's probably like, Jesus can do anything. I don't know how he just did that. And then we look further down at verses 22 to 29. Immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back into the boat and cross to the other side of the lake. While he sent the people home, after sending them home, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. Night fell while he was there alone. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from the land, for a strong wind had risen and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified in their fear. They cried out, "It's a ghost!" But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage, I am here." Then Peter called to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." "Yes, come," Jesus said. So Peter went over to the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. Now, I think at this point in the story, Peter's got some adrenaline going after witnessing Jesus feed the 5,000. Because under what circumstance is that the test? If that's really you, Jesus, let me walk on this water. It's not like, hey, if that's you, can you clear up the storm a little bit? Or how we like to say, God, give me a sign, all right? Send a sign my way. It almost feels like confidence and adrenaline that kids get after riding a roller coaster for the first time, and they're like jumping around like they can do anything. He's like, I can walk on water. Peter feels on top of the world. He has full faith in Jesus right now. But what we all know about the story is that did not last long. Continuing on, it says, but when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sink. "Save me, Lord," he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith," Jesus said. "Why did you doubt me?" And I want to pause here and think back to the mustard seed analogy. Jesus tells Peter he has such little faith. But at that moment, before he hopped in the water to walk on water toward Jesus, Peter had more faith in Jesus than probably anyone in the world. Nobody else was jumping overboard. Peter was like, you're going to let me walk on water. He had so much faith, he was making up random things like hopping overboard and walking on water just because he knew Jesus could do it. So the person with the most faith in the world at this moment takes his eyes off Jesus for a second, doubts for a second, and begins to sink. He has the smallest inkling of doubt, and now Jesus says he has such little faith. In an instant, he went from faith of a mustard seed, walking on water, doing the impossible, but one thought of doubt arises, and he goes down to having little faith. And from here, it feels kind of hopeless for us, right? If Peter, a disciple walking on water with Jesus, has doubt in his faith, how are we ever going to truly have faith? Now, I want to focus on Jesus' response to Peter here. Right after Peter has doubt and begins to sink, we see this happen. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith," Jesus said. "Why did you doubt me?" Face value, this response looks like Jesus is pretty disappointed or annoyed or frustrated in Peter. Have you guys ever heard the phrase, "Don't be sorry, be better"? That's what it feels like. It stings. That's what the statement can feel like. I doubted you, Jesus. I let you down. But what I really think that this is, what I really think Jesus is doing here, is I think it's a compassionate invitation. I think Jesus was really inviting Peter to share his doubts with Jesus. He was inviting Peter to bring his doubts into the light so he could help Peter process them and understand the truth that Jesus offers. Jesus is inviting us to share our doubts with him. And I know that can be scary and that can be awkward. How do I tell my God to his face that I don't trust what he's got going on? I don't think that he's really going to heal me. I don't think that he's going to help my rent get paid this month. Isn't he going to be angry at me, disappointed? Of course not. He didn't just let Peter sink in the water because he had a little doubt. He wasn't like, "Ye of little faith, you're banished to Davy Jones' locker," all right? No, he caught Peter and he helped him up. He helped him out of the water. We have a God that loves us so much, even when we doubt him. He protects us and he provides for us and he loves us. I think that many of us feel that our doubt and our denial is the end of our story with God. That's what kills the relationship. Then we walk away from faith. We side with culture. We've cut ties with God, and we've lost our blessings. I have one more story from Peter for you guys. And this guy was apparently having some real trust issues with Jesus throughout the Bible, because there's a lot of stories like this. This is in Matthew chapter 26, verse 31 to 35. It says, "On the way, Jesus told them, 'Tonight, all of you will desert me. For the scriptures say, God will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have been raised from the dead, I will go ahead of you to Galilee and meet you there.' Peter declared, 'Even if everyone else deserts you, I will never desert you.' Jesus replied, 'I tell you the truth, Peter. This very night before the rooster crows, you will deny 3 times that you even know me.' 'No,' Peter insisted. 'Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you.' And all the other disciples vowed the same." To go off track a little bit, I think it's hilarious how these sections are titled in the NLT. The section of scripture that we just read is titled, "Jesus Predicts Peter's Denial." And in it, we see Peter's like, "I'm not going to do that. I'm right by your side the whole time." And then you read down a little bit, and the next title is, "Peter Denies Jesus." Oops. It happened. My bad. Long story short, Peter denies Jesus 3 times, and as soon as he does this for the 3rd time, the rooster crows, and he immediately understands what he did. He denies Jesus 3 times. He cut him out. He had no faith. That's the end of the road for Peter, right? I'm just saying, if I have a friend who doesn't have my back multiple times in a day, I'm cutting that person out. I need people around me who believe in me, or I'm kicking them to the curb. But after Jesus' resurrection, we see this in John chapter 21. "Then the disciples Jesus loved said to Peter, 'It's the Lord.' When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his tunic, for he had stripped for work, jumped into the water, and headed to shore." Peter sees Jesus on the shore after being resurrected, jumps off the fishing boat he was in, and swims straight to Jesus, where Jesus was, and they had breakfast together. And after breakfast, we see this conversation. After breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," Peter replied. "You know I love you." "Then feed my lambs." Jesus repeated the question, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord," Peter said. "You know I love you." "Then take care of my sheep," Jesus said. A 3rd time he asked him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt that Jesus asked the question a 3rd time. He said, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Then feed my sheep." So 3 times Peter denies Jesus. And now 3 times he's telling Jesus he loves him. Peter and Jesus' relationship very well could have ended with Jesus in the tomb. Again, if that were me and you, it very well may have. But through Peter confronting his doubt, going to Jesus, having conversations and addressing his doubt, his faith was made stronger than it was before. His understanding of Jesus was stronger than it was before. Maybe you're in here today and you've doubted God for a while. Maybe you have some bad church experiences. Maybe you needed God to do something in your life and that didn't happen for you. That pushed you away from God. Maybe your doubt has brought you to a place that has made you given up on trusting God to come through for you. If that's you, I want to ask you to do this. Talk to him. Did you try talking to him? Did you tell him you had doubts? Did you give God a chance to work a miracle in your life? Or did you just kind of hope it would happen? Or maybe did you run away? Did you give up when you didn't think it was going to happen? Did you stop trusting God when it stopped making sense to you? Shortly after that first semester of junior college, where I failed every class, I felt worthless. And I found that that feeling was really a doubt that God had the ability to use me. I doubted that God could use someone who was a failure in the world's eyes and in my own eyes. So I brought it up to him. I used to run a mile every day. Strong emphasis on the used to, all right? But after these runs, I would sit on the concrete bleachers at the football field and pray. Again, this is probably the worst I had ever felt about myself in my life. And I told God, I don't think you can use me. I don't feel qualified. I brought to God my doubt of myself. I brought to God my doubt in him. Shortly after those prayers, COVID struck, church doors closed, and we had to move to online messages. And it so happened that I knew how to edit videos, and the church needed help editing messages and putting them on YouTube every Sunday. And also during this time, I was able to get with the youth pastor and put together YouTube videos for the youth group. I would work with the teenagers, and in that, I would build relationships with the students and make an impact on students' lives. I brought the doubt of my purpose to God, and almost immediately, he gave me purpose. Now I'm doing something that I love, something that I can be proud of, helping teenagers foster a relationship with God because I brought my doubt to him. If you have a doubt in God's abilities, I want to challenge you not to hide away, not to pretend it doesn't exist because that's a weird thing to bring up to God, but talk to God about it. Tell God you're struggling to believe that he can do what you're asking for. Also, I want to encourage you to put some skin in the game, all right? Show God that even though you have doubt, you're going to put your faith in him. If you doubt he can provide for you financially, start tithing and see how that changes your finances. If you're struggling to believe he can heal you, start asking others to pray for you and see what that changes. If you're struggling to see his purpose for you, start serving somewhere, volunteer somewhere, help out in kids, help out with coffee or greeting or doing slides or youth. See what that changes for you. Finally, for those of us who are like, I've done my time, I'm doing pretty good in my faith, I've confronted my doubts already, I want to encourage you with this. Keep your eyes and focus on Jesus. It was only after Peter started focusing on the storm and the waves that he began to doubt. Keep your focus on Jesus. Stay in your Bible. Pray about everything, and your faith will remain.